Good morning and welcome to this glorious celebration of achievement. I am Noel Wilkin and I serve our university as Interim Provost and Executive Vice Chancellor. Before we begin this morning, I want to encourage our visitors and guests to please feel free to fill in the seats behind our students and our faculty. It is my great pleasure to introduce the 17th Chancellor of the University of Mississippi. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Jeffrey S. Vitter.
Good morning and welcome to this historic, beautiful grove and to the pinnacle of the academic year, the day we recognize the success of our students, families, faculty, and staff. This is a day to be enjoyed and remembered, a happy day for all of us, especially all you parents and others who have been paying tuition. It is such a remarkable sight from my vantage point here, seeing so many happy, excited faces. I just wish you all could experience this view for yourselves. Oh wait, I have an idea. I'm going to take a panoramic photo. So would all of you please smile and remain smiling? Okay, that worked. So you all can get it later on my Twitter page this afternoon. The first Ole Miss students graduated 166 years ago when the first diplomas were awarded in 1851. Through this ceremony, we continue this worthy tradition of recognizing achievement. Cody Ryan Arthur, who will receive the Bachelor of Arts degree in ceremonies today, will lead us as we sing our national anthem. Would you please stand?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Cody. We are grateful also to our faculty musicians, Dr. John Schuslin and Dr. Stanley Friedman on trumpet, and Dr. Jason Derrick, organist, for their contributions to this commencement. Let's give them a round of applause. We welcome all the families and friends of the graduates to campus, and we give thanks for this beautiful day. Many of you have come from great distances to see your sons, daughters, spouses, relatives, or friends receive diplomas. We know our graduates are grateful for your support and encouragement. And graduates, it is traditional now for you to stand and express appreciation to those who have loved, encouraged, and supported you during your years here at Ole Miss. So graduates, please stand. The men and women of our faculty have committed their lives to learning, discovery, and engagement. They have taught, challenged, nurtured, and inspired our graduates while helping them prepare for a long, vibrant future. They have also established friendships that continue for life. Will the faculty please stand and let us express our appreciation to you. Members of the Board of Trustees of the State Institutions of Higher Learning are appointed by the Governor, confirmed by the Senate, and serve 9-year terms. We're grateful for their unselfish dedication to higher education in Mississippi, and today we're pleased to have Mr. Alan Perry, past President of the IHL Board of Trustees, Dr. Alfred McNair, Dr. Ford Dye, Ms. Ann Lamar, and Mr. Shane Hooper to represent our governing board and join us in our platform party. Please join me in welcoming the Board of Trustees. A major component of our university is our health science campus in Jackson. The University of Mississippi Medical Center, which is the only academic medical center in Mississippi, houses 6 of our schools, including medicine, dentistry, nursing, health-related professions, the Graduate School in Health Sciences, and population health being only the 3rd such school of its kind in the country. Leading that campus is Vice Chancellor for Health Affairs and Dean of the School of Medicine, Dr. Luann Woodward. I am pleased to welcome Provost Noel Wilkin now back to the podium.
Thank you, Chancellor Vitter. I am pleased to introduce the distinguished and dedicated platform party who lead the university and join us to commend our graduates. As I introduce you, please stand and remain standing. I ask that the audience please hold their applause until they are all introduced. Mr. Larry Sparks, Vice Chancellor for Administration and Finance. Dr. Joseph Gladden, Interim Vice Chancellor for Research and Sponsored Programs and Associate Professor of Physics and Astronomy. Dr. Brandy Hepner-LeBanc, Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs and Associate Professor of Leadership and Counselor Education. Mr. Ross Bjork, Vice Chancellor for Intercollegiate Athletics. Dr. Donna Strum, Associate Provost, Professor of Pharmacy Administration, and Research Professor in the Research Institute of Pharmaceutical Sciences. Dr. Rich Forget, Associate Provost, Interim Director of CISS, and Professor of Political Sciences. Dr. Don Cole, Assistant Provost and Associate Professor of Mathematics. Mr. Wendell Weekly, President of the University of Mississippi Foundation. Mr. Lee Tyner, General Counsel and Instructor in Business Administration. Dr. Douglas Sullivan Gonzalez, Dean of the Sally McDonald Barksdale Honors College and Professor of History. Professor Cecilia Botero, Dean of the University Libraries. Our student leaders joining us on the platform today are Mr. Austin Powell, Associate Student Body President for the 2016-2017 academic year. Mr. Alexandros Vasios Sivopoulos, Graduate Student Council President for the 2016-17 academic year. Please join me in welcoming the platform party. The remainder of our platform party will be introduced as they come forward to play a role in this ceremony. Last evening, our doctoral students were hooded in a separate special ceremony. We ask them to please stand and be recognized. Thank you. Each year, as part of our honors convocation, the Elsie Hood Outstanding Teacher Award is presented to a member of our faculty. This year, Dr. John Romaldi, Professor of Medicinal Chemistry, Environmental Toxicology and Biomolecular Sciences, Research Professor in Research Institute of Pharmaceutical Sciences, and Director of Research and Graduate Affairs in Biomolecular Sciences, was the recipient of this singular honor. Dr. Romaldi, please stand to be recognized. At this time, it is my pleasure to call forward Dr. Brandy Hepner-LeBanc, who will present the Frist Awards.
Good morning. For more than 2 decades, the Frist Student Service Award has recognized university employees who go above and beyond the call of duty to demonstrate their commitment to students. Dr. Thomas Frist, an Ole Miss alumnus from Nashville and founder of Hospital Corporation of America, established the Thomas F. Frist Award Endowment here in 1995. The cornerstone of Dr. Frist's success was his emphasis on service, whether as a physician, as a CEO, or as a volunteer. The endowment provides a monetary award each year to a faculty member and a staff member who have been selected for their exceptional service to students. This year, the staff award goes to Whitman Smith, the university's Director of Admissions. Generally, once a student enrolls at a university, the admissions director job is pretty much finished. But as parents of one of our graduating seniors point out in their nomination letter, Whitman has rewritten the playbook. This family, like thousands of others, met Whitman at freshman orientation, and they wrote that he went well beyond introducing students to the university and helping them acclimate to the collegiate environment. Over the next few years, he built relationships with the student, and his parents said, had it not been for Whitman and his ceaseless encouragement and open door, our son may not be graduating in May. Whitman's voice of reason and understanding encouraged him when it seemed no one else could. Looking back over the past 4 years, the student remarked, I always felt like I could just stop by his office at any point and have a good conversation with a friend. Whitman has been on campus pretty much his whole life. He is a 4th-generation Ole Miss employee and has said one of his earliest memories is visiting the Lyceum where his mother worked. He started working there right after he graduated from the university and has never left. Please join me in honoring Whitman Smith. This year, we have a rare tie for the faculty recipient of the Frist Award. The first honoree is Dr. Bob Brown, who has been at the university since 1991, when he joined the Department of Political Science as an assistant professor. Known across campus as an outstanding lecturer who encourages his students to think, read, and to practice empathy, Dr. Brown also is a past winner of the LCM Hood Outstanding Teacher Award, the top teaching honor here at Ole Miss. For the past several years, he's also taught in the Sally McDonald Barksdale Honors College, where he leads a popular freshman seminar course. In a nomination letter for him, one student wrote, he has gone above and beyond as a professor, his dedication to his students shining every step of the way. Dr. Brown has visited 6 students in their hometowns, gifted books to other students just because he thought they would enjoy them, and has become a faithful campus voice outspoken against sexual assault. When the student had doubts about her career path as a freshman, she indicated, he sat with me and compiled a list of possible majors, helped me schedule appointments with deans and professors in each department, showing up to introduce me to each of them. Not surprisingly, this student says she considers Dr. Brown a mentor and a true friend. Our second recipient is Dr. Donald Dyer, who recently left his longtime post as chair of the Department of Modern Languages to become Associate Dean for Faculty and Academic Affairs in the College of Liberal Arts. Dr. Dyer, who began teaching at Ole Miss in 1988, is a professor of Russian and linguistics and, like Dr. Brown, also teaches in the Honors College. We got multiple nomination letters for Dr. Dyer from both students and faculty who commended him for having taken the language and linguistics program to exceptional heights. He has always been supportive of new ideas, innovations in teaching languages, including less commonly taught languages such as Russian, Chinese, Japanese, and Arabic. Thanks to his hard work, professional and personal skill, the Department of Modern Languages has achieved great success, national and international recognition, and respect. A student wrote that Dr. Dyer has helped him find funds to pay for graduate students' trips to conferences in Idaho and New Mexico, has taught more than required numbers of courses, and even led a summer linguistics course for free rather than making students wait another semester to take it. Dr. Dyer leads by example. He is ready to do what is best for the students in the university, a student wrote. Faculty members who put this much of their lives into ensuring that students get the most of their time here are what makes our university such an amazing place. Please join me in honoring both Dr. Bob Brown and Dr. Dawn Dyer.
It is now my pleasure to call forward Dr. Josh Gladden for the presentation of the Distinguished Research and Creative Achievement Award.
Good morning. It is a great honor and a privilege to announce the 2017 recipient of the University of Mississippi Distinguished Research and Creative Achievement Award. Before I announce the award, I would like to thank Pharmaceutics International Incorporated, whose generous sponsorship makes this award possible. Syed Abidi, the CEO of PII, is an Ole Miss alumnus, and his dedication to supporting the university led to the establishment of this award in 2008. The Distinguished Research and Creative Achievement Award recognizes and pays tribute to a faculty member whose career and achievements have generated national and international accolades. Someone who has been a leader in their chosen field, who has inspired and encouraged others, who is admired and respected by their peers, and who has made outstanding lifelong contributions to both their profession and this institution. Each year, a committee of previous winners reviews nominations and makes a selection. In a twist, today I have the honor of presenting this award to the person who presented it many times before me, Dr. Alice Clark, Vice Chancellor for University Relations and FAP Barnard Distinguished Professor of Pharmacognosy. Dr. Clark is an inspiration to all of us who balance roles in academia and research. She has built two distinguished careers simultaneously, one as a prolific and internationally renowned scientist, the other as a leader in the university community whose bold and innovative ideas helped shape the great institution we see around us today. Dr. Clark joined the university as a research associate and faculty member in 1979. She previously earned both her MS and PhD degrees in pharmacognosy at the University of Mississippi. Prior to her current role as Vice Chancellor for University Relations, Dr. Clark served as Vice Chancellor for Research and sponsored programs. During her time as Vice Chancellor for Research, the university attained the R1 highest research activity designation by the Carnegie Classification of Institutes of Higher Learning, a high honor for doctoral research universities in the United States, representing only 2.5% of the universities nationwide. During her time as VC for Research, Dr. Clark found support for creation and development of many research centers, institutes on campus. She oversaw and championed many university economic development efforts, including the creation of Insight Park, the university's research park, and the innovation hub at Insight Park. Before becoming the Vice Chancellor for Research, Dr. Clark served as the Director of the National Center for Natural Products Research. Under her leadership and as a result of her strategic efforts, the center grew from a small unit to an international leader in natural products drug discovery. As a scientist, Dr. Clark has published extensively on the discovery of novel biological active natural products and pharmaceuticals, authoring and co-authoring more than 100 original research articles, reviews, and book chapters. She has presented over 100 contributed papers at scientific meetings and given 19 invited symposia, seminars, and workshop presentations around the country in her field of expertise. As principal investigator, she received continuous peer-reviewed NIH funding from 1984 to 2014 to conduct research related to the discovery and development of new drugs for opportunistic infections. Dr. Clark has served in several leadership positions in national and international professional associations, including the president of the American Society of Pharmacognosy and chair of the Pharmaceutical Sciences section of the American Association for the Advancement of Science. In addition to today's award, Dr. Clark has been the recipient of many honors. In 2010, she received the Mary Spear Outstanding Reviewer Award, the preeminent honor for commitment to peer review, given by the National Institute of Health's Center for Scientific Review. She was the 1996 Rho Chi National Lecturer. She is a fellow of the American Association of the Advancement of Science and the American Association of Pharmaceutical Scientists. In their letters of support, Dr. Clark's colleagues and former students praised her passionate research, tireless efforts to encourage and mentor others, and leadership abilities. One student noted her enthusiasm, knowledge, tenacity, and humility made it clear she would be an excellent mentor. A colleague called her a great credit to the University of Mississippi, to all of science, and a tremendous ambassador to both. Unfortunately, Dr. Clark cannot be here with us today to receive her award, but she may well be watching on the live video feed. So please join me in congratulating Dr. Alice Clark, the recipient of the university's 2017 Distinguished Research and Creative Achievement Award. Congratulations, Alice.
The president of the senior class is Mr. Saxon Nelson. He will receive his Bachelor of Arts degree in ceremonies later today. Please welcome Mr. Nelson.
Thank you, Provost Wilkin. Good morning, classmates, family, and friends. This past year, I've had the distinct privilege of serving as your class president. Now, I know most of you are sitting there wondering what that even means. Well, my task this year has been designing and organizing our senior class gift. This year, my Vice President, Matthew Bolton, Treasurer, Caleb Carroll, and I, along with the Athletics Department, have chosen a plaque to be placed on the new extension of the Walk of Champions. On the plaque will be engraved our beloved Hotty Toddy chant, as well as the class of 2017. As a class, we have raised over $8,400 and had over 750 individual seniors participate. This amount is above and beyond the cost of our project, which leaves a handsome fund for our successors, enabling them to begin next year with confidence. I've witnessed over and over again the amazing things that our class is capable of when we come together. This makes me extremely optimistic to see what we do as we leave here today on 1,000 separate journeys. But as you leave, don't be afraid of what the world has planned. As Jedi Master Yoda once said, fear is a path to the dark side. Instead, embrace the future, living as the late Jerry Garcia of the Grateful Dead, who implored us to live life expecting the worst, hoping for the best, and living for the future. Thanks to my class for a phenomenal 4 years. Hotty toddy, and God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Dr. Paul Hal Moore, Jr. is president of the Ole Miss Alumni Association and is from Pascagoula, Mississippi. Please welcome Dr. Moore.
Honored guests, graduates, and your friends and family, it is my pleasure to welcome you here today on behalf of the Ole Miss Alumni Association. You will soon be alumni of a very special place. This will require you to intentionally join the association, and I hope that you choose to do so. A day like today reminds me how very significant this university has been in most of our lives. As a 3-year-old in 1954, I first entered school here. I was not a prodigy, but was a member of the laboratory preschool. The Rebel football team was 9-2 that year, SEC champion, and ended the season number 6 in the nation. Of course, I remember none of that, but I do remember being taught to play fairly. I hope that all of you have learned that lesson by now and have made playing fairly a distinctive of your life. 15 years later, I returned as a freshman. The Rebs won 8 that year, concluding with a Sugar Bowl victory, and were again ranked in the top 10 in the nation. I had the honor of playing on the same field with Archie Manning and other greats. Okay, I was playing the tenor saxophone, but I was there. As a junior, I took genetics and learned from my professor, a former professor of the year, Dr. Will St. Amand, that the possibility of anything happening is 1. The possibility of anything happening is 1. That deceptively simple truth has served me well, giving me inspiration and hope during interesting and challenging circumstances. I hope that you will remember that when faced with obstacles and opportunities. At the Ole Miss campus in Jackson as a junior in medical school, I, along with a whole generation of physicians, was inspired by the teachings of Dr. Peter Blake. A cardiologist, it was Dr. Blake's role to teach us Introduction to Clinical Medicine. That is when we first officially talked and touched patients, an intimidating experience for a 23-year-old. Although he taught us the core principles of clinical medicine, that is not what he is remembered for. He taught us the answer to what do I do now? The answer, of course, is to do the right thing, a piece of advice that has never failed me, nor will it you. So congratulations on your achievements, and remember to play fairly, remember that all is possible, and most importantly, remember to do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. Hal and I and Ross Bjork and Hugh Freeze and several others got to spend a week together 3 weeks ago, traveling to 9 sites across the southest part of Rebel Road Trip, and we had a great time, and hotty toddy, Hal. Here at Ole Miss, we have another very long-standing and impressive tradition, and that's of bringing nationally and internationally renowned figures to campus for our commencement addresses. And this year is certainly no exception. It is my distinct pleasure that we have with us today Pulitzer Prize-winning author John Meacham, a celebrated writer, historian, editor, journalist, and media figure. Mr. Meacham is the author of several celebrated works. His 2009 Pulitzer Prize-winning biography of Andrew Jackson was praised for its vivid, fearlessly honest portrayal of America's 7th president. Historian Michael Beschloss called it a spellbinding, brilliant, and irresistible journey that shows us how the old hero transformed both the American presidency and the nation he led. And if Andrew Jackson had not won the Battle of New Orleans, we might all be speaking in a British accent today. In addition to his biography of Andrew Jackson, Mr. Meacham's other highly acclaimed works include Franklin and Winston, an intimate portrait of an epic friendship, American Gospel, God, the Founding Fathers, and the Making of a Nation. Thomas Jefferson, The Art of Power, and Destiny and Power, The American Odyssey of George Herbert Walker Bush, a #1 New York Times bestseller. He is currently working on a biography of James and Dolly Madison. In addition to the Pulitzer Prize, Mr. Meacham's books have received many significant awards. Thomas Jefferson, The Art of Power, received the 2013 Francis Tavern Museum Book Award, a prize that recognizes books of exceptional merit written on the Revolutionary War era. Franklin and Winston was honored with the Colby Award of the William E. Colby Military Writers Symposium. Mr. Meacham also was honored with the 2015 Nashville Public Library Literary Award. John Meacham began his career at the Chattanooga Times before serving in editorial roles at prominent publications across the land. It was in these roles that he earned national recognition as a distinctly knowledgeable expert on American politics, both historical and current. Mr. Meacham is a former editor of the Washington Monthly and was managing editor of Newsweek for 8 years before becoming editor of the magazine from 2006 to 2010. As an executive editor at Random House, he published books by Al Gore and many others. He is contributing editor of Time, where he writes for the magazine's Ideas section. He writes a column for the New York Times Book Review that examines books that speak to our current historical and cultural moment. In addition to his work as a writer and editor, John Meacham is a regular television guest on Morning Joe, Charlie Rose, and other broadcasts. He has appeared on Meet the Press, The Colbert Report, Real Time with Bill Maher, and was included in Ken Burns' documentary series, The Roosevelts, An Intimate History. A native of Chattanooga, Tennessee, Mr. Meacham attended the University of the South. There he graduated summa cum laude as salutatorian and as member of Phi Beta Kappa. He currently resides in Nashville and Sewanee with his wife and children and is a distinguished visiting professor at both Vanderbilt University and at the University of the South. And many of you all may not know this, but Mr. Meacham's wife, Keith, is from the Mississippi Delta. And he has not one, but 2 cousins who work here at the university. And for that, we made him officially last night an honorary Ole Miss Rebel. So hotty toddy, John. We actually presented him with an official proclamation. Now, whether it's through his journalism, television appearances, or by writing definitive historical biographies, Mr. Meacham consistently provides a clear and authoritative voice in national discussions. I'm eager to hear his advice today to the class of 2017. Please let's all give a rowdy Ole Miss welcome to John Meacham.
Thank you. I just asked the Chancellor if he does funerals as well, because it's all downhill from here. I was just sitting there thinking, yeah, I think he's got a point about all that. And my mind went quickly, as before my head got too big, to a moment. It was, I guess, 8 years ago now on the Washington Mall. I was at the National Book Festival, and I just published my book about Andrew Jackson, and I was on my way to give a talk about it. And a woman ran up to me, which doesn't happen enough as a basic rule, or ever, really. And she said, "Oh my God, it's you." And I said, well, yes, existentially speaking, that's hard to argue with. This may be the only place in Mississippi where I can use existential as an adverb. Well done. And she said, I want you to sign your new book. Will you wait right here? And I'm in a retail business. I said, absolutely. So I was standing there and I was thinking, life is good. I've written these books. People are recognizing me. They want me to sign them. And I was thinking, life is just perfect. hand to God, she brought back John Grisham's latest novel. So, whenever I think I have the world exactly where I want it, I remind myself that somewhere in America there's a woman with a forged copy of The Runaway Jury. So, I'm grateful, deeply grateful for your hospitality. President Nelson has already quoted Yoda and Jerry Garcia. Well done. That's tricky to do. Get both those in. As you've heard, I am the Tennessean by birth and by inclination. I teach at Vanderbilt, which is in fact still in the SEC. Y'all might not have noticed that, but I did what I could by marrying a Mississippian, and so I hope you'll give me some transferable credit for the next few minutes. And as Chancellor Vitter said, I went to Sewanee, the University of the South. There may be one or two of you who don't know it well. It's a small Episcopal school in Tennessee, best understood as a combination of Downton Abbey and Duck Dynasty, sort of put together. So I wanted you all to know that I speak your language. I know well that I'm about the only thing standing between you all and the rest of your lives, so I'll be quick. But you are headed off to lives of great consequence at a consequential time in the history of America and of the world. You're going to encounter an infinity of joys and of sorrows, and God willing, there'll be more of the former than the latter. And you'll carry what you've learned here through all the length of days. Now, I'm a historian and a biographer, which means living with me is kind of like a combination of The Shining and C-SPAN. But I do spend my hours trying to explore the disparate elements of what William James called the blooming, buzzing confusion of reality. And I believe deeply that your fellow Mississippian William Faulkner was right when he said that the past is never dead, it isn't even past. So I'd like to take our time together this morning to reflect on how the past might be able to shape both the present and the future. For history is not clinical. It's not a distant or remote thing. It's an ambient reality for all of us. To know what's come before and to know how to think about seemingly disparate and distant events in relation to one's own time and one's own complications is, I think, to be armed against despair. For if the men and women of the past, with all their flaws and limitations and appetites and ambitions, could overcome selfishness and greed and racism and sexism to form a more perfect union, then maybe we can too. Now, the world has already turned over many times since you've been in it. Many of you were born in the middle of the 1990s, which, come to think of it, means that I have shoes that are older than some of you. It was the third year or so of the first term of President Bill Clinton. In those days, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was about 5,000. A gallon of gasoline cost $1.15. Mark Zuckerberg turned 11. New television shows included Star Trek Voyager and CNBC's Squawk Box, which if you don't watch now, you soon will. That was the year that gave us the movies Braveheart, Toy Story, The Usual Suspects, Die Hard with a Vengeance, Grumpier Old Men, and the classic Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie. Yeah, they're waking up down here. My best friend in college was a man, y'all may know him, from Lynchburg, Tennessee, named Jack Daniels. And I spent a lot of time with him the night before my commencement, so it's a little fuzzy for me. I'm sure that isn't true here at all, right? The O.J. Simpson trial took over daytime television the year y'all were born. You were just about to begin elementary school when terror struck us out of a bright blue sky on Tuesday, September 11th, 2001. And for well over half your lifetimes, which is a remarkable thing to contemplate, the United States has been at war, something that no other generation of Americans, including the first generation, can say. You were in middle school when the first African American in history was elected President of the United States, and you were students here at Oxford when the most unconventional major party candidate in American history won the highest office in the land. So you know what history feels like. You've already lived through a fair chunk of it. And you know, at least implicitly, that all we know for certain is the world is going to turn over again and again and again until what Faulkner called the last red and dying evening. I'd argue that you, the graduates of Ole Miss, and the enduring mission of the university itself are especially well equipped to lead in epic times. And that's because we as Southerners are intimately acquainted with tragedy and with progress. We are only a century and a half away from Appomattox and just 50 years away from Selma. In its long and tangled history, the American South has embodied the best and the worst of our national and our human impulses. There's always more work to be done, more miles to travel, more wrongs to right. But I do think, on balance, you are graduating at a promising hour for our region. Old barriers are falling away, new opportunities are opening up, and if we listen closely, very closely, we can hear the music of Lincoln's better angels of our nature. Your task in all the years ahead is to keep your ear attuned to those angelic notes. Ole Miss has taught you how to listen to them and never stop, for their song is the song of redemption from what Robert Penn Warren called the accident, error, and evils of life and of our lives. So what can those angels tell us now in our own time? That the perfect should not be the enemy of the good, that compromise is the oxygen of democracy, that reflexive partisanship is not the same thing as reflective partisanship, and that we learn the most from those who came before, not by looking up at them uncritically or down on them condescendingly, but looking them in the eye, judging them for what they were and what they did, and taking their true measures as human beings, not as gods or as demons. That brings us to the moral utility of history. It is incredibly tempting to feel morally superior to the past. It's often the only thing we can feel morally superior to. But as Arthur Schlesinger Jr., the great American historian, once said, self-righteousness in retrospect is easy, also cheap. Easy, also cheap. And so I'd argue that when we begin to condemn posterity for slavery, for Native American removal, for denying women their full role in the life of the nation, pause and think. What injustices are we even now perpetuating that will cause future generations to look back and condemn us? And should not our central concern be the amelioration of issues of current political, moral, cultural, and economic justice, as opposed to the issues that we ignore for reasons of political, moral, cultural, or economic convenience? The work of our own time is what we must be chiefly concerned with. Now, as Americans, we face fundamental challenges. Politically, we're in the midst of a great partisan struggle in which a professional political class appears to have more invested in the perpetuation of conflict than in the resolution of problems. So, whatever your political persuasion, whatever your families, I'd urge you, be questioning, be vigilant. A republic is only as good as the sum of its parts. as the sum of all of us. It is incredibly seductive, particularly in these times, to become absorbed in Washington as a soap opera, as a, dare I say it, a reality show. But life is not a reality show. Life is reality. And so pay attention, be vigilant, agree and disagree, but please God, please, agree peaceably and civilly. If we don't talk to each other more, we're going to get to a point where we don't talk to each other at all. So, at its best, Ole Miss has armed you for what Oliver Wendell Holmes called the passion and action of the times. Your weapons are the elements that form this school's sure foundation: grace and strength and love. It's grace that will enable you to appreciate and be grateful for good fortune as you pursue, with inevitably varying degrees of success, life's glittering prizes. It's strength that will make arms strong amid diversity, giving you the will and the means to endure. And it's love that gives shape and meaning to everything in hours of triumph and of trial, of success and of failure. And so be curious, be generous, be gracious, be hopeful, love your neighbor, take a nap outside on summer afternoons, read Jane Austen and Anthony Trollope, and as many detective stories as you can find. Go to the movies, subscribe to newspapers and magazines, vote in each and every election, if you have to, more than once. I am from Tennessee, we do that. Never be embarrassed to put your hand over your heart when a band strikes up the national anthem. And write thank you notes on actual paper. You know, the dead tree kind. Parents always like that. Look up from those screens, either on your phone or on your watch. Technology contains multitudes, but remember, virtual reality is just that. It's virtual. Above all, remember that in hours of joy and of darkness, that a life well lived is judged not by the bottom line, but by the big picture. Hotty toddy.
Mr. Meacham, thank you for your words of encouragement and for your insightful perspectives. We will now confer degrees on all candidates for graduation. All candidates will be presented with their diplomas in individual school ceremonies later this morning and this afternoon. Before we proceed, I would like to note that today's ceremony includes many scholars who have taken varied paths from undergraduate to graduate students. But a group among you attended fall convocation 4 years ago, where you received a coin. At that time, it was given to you because it symbolized the beginning of your academic journey at this university. We hope that it's been a time of excitement, enlightenment, and challenge. At that convocation in the fall, you were asked to be mindful of the moment you shared with those seated around you, hearing the same message as you all embarked on this path together. And now, 4 years later, many of you have completed the bookends of this academic journey. We hope that you will treasure this coin and everything it symbolizes. May it serve as a special reminder of your time here at the University of Mississippi. We thank you for being part of this family. We would now like to recognize the candidates for degrees by school or college. I will introduce each dean, who will then come forward and present the graduates of the school or college. At this time, I recognize Dr. Lee Cohen, Dean of the College of Liberal Arts and Professor of Psychology. Dr. Cohen, will you please come forward?
Interim Provost Wilkin, I'm pleased to present the candidates for the bachelor's degree from the College of Liberal Arts. Candidates, please stand and remain standing.
Professor Deborah Bell, Interim Dean of the School of Law and Professor of Law.
Interim Provost Wilkin, I am pleased to present the candidates for the degree of Juris Doctor in the School of Law. Candidates, please stand and remain standing.
Dr. Alexander Chang, Dean of the School of Engineering and Professor of Civil Engineering.
Interim Provost Wilkin, it's my great pleasure to present the candidate for the bachelor degree in the School of Engineering. Candidate, please stand and remain standing.
Dr. Amy Wells Dolan, Associate Dean and Associate Professor of Leadership and Counselor Education.
Interim Provost Wilkin, I'm very pleased to present the candidates for degrees in the School of Education. Will the candidates please stand and remain standing?
Dr. David Allen, Dean of the School of Pharmacy and Professor of Pharmacology.
Interim Provost Wilkin, I am pleased to present the candidates for the degrees in the School of Pharmacy, including those candidates for the Doctor of Pharmacy degree. Will the candidates please rise and remain standing?
Dr. Ken Siree, Dean of the School of Business Administration and Professor of Finance.
Interim Provost Wilkin, I am pleased to present the candidates for degrees in the School of Business Administration. Will the candidates please stand and remain standing?
The Doctor of Philosophy, Doctor of Education, Doctor of Arts, Specialist, and Master's degrees are awarded by the Graduate School. And at this time, I will ask Dr. Christy Wyant, Interim Dean of the Graduate School, Professor of Pharmaceutics, and Research Professor in the Research Institute of Pharmaceutical Sciences, to come forward.
Provost Wilkin, I am pleased to present the candidates for degrees in the Graduate School. Will the candidates please stand and remain standing?
Dr. Mark Wilder, Dean of the Patterson School of Accountancy and KPMG Professor of Accountancy.
Provost Wilkin, I am pleased to present the candidates for degrees from the Patterson School of Accountancy. Will the candidates please stand and remain standing?
Dr. Velmer Burton, Dean of the School of Applied Sciences, Professor of Social Work, and Professor of Legal Studies.
Provost Wilkin, I'm pleased to present candidates for bachelor's degrees from the School of Applied Sciences. Candidates stand and remain standing.
Dr. Will Norton, Dean of the Meek School of Journalism and New Media and Professor of Journalism and New Media.
Interim Provost Wilkin, it's my privilege to present to you undergraduate candidates for the degrees in the Meek School of Journalism and New Media. Will the candidates please stand and remain standing?
Dr. Tony Ameter, Dean of General Studies and Associate Professor of Management and Management Information Systems.
Interim Provost Wilkin, I am pleased to present the candidates for the Bachelor of General Studies degree. Candidates, please stand and remain standing.
Chancellor Vitter, I have the honor to present these candidates who have been recommended by their respective deans and approved by the university faculty for the various university degrees.
By authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of the State Institutions of Higher Learning, the university faculty recommending, I now confer upon each of you the degree to which you are entitled, with all the rights, privileges, immunities, and responsibilities appertaining thereto. Congratulations to all of you. You all may now please be seated. Across the world, these ceremonies are referred to as graduation or commencement. Today, you complete your work as students at the university. You graduate. You also begin the next chapter in your lives. You commence. Our collective prayer for each of you is a life filled with joy, good health, successful, meaningful careers, and peace. God bless each of you.
Details of the afternoon ceremonies are in the program you received this morning. We ask that you keep your copy of the program for those afternoon ceremonies. Graduation exercises for the University of Mississippi Medical Center will be held at 10 a.m. on Friday, May 26th in the Mississippi Coliseum. For your convenience, several dining options across campus will be open this afternoon. Ms. Melanie Patricia Colhane, who will receive the Bachelor of Music degree in ceremonies today, will lead us in singing the alma mater. The words are printed in the back of your program. One final word. In keeping with today's setting and ceremony, there will be no formal processional or recessional. Please come forward and lead us, Ms. Colhane.
Way down south in Mississippi, there's a spot that ever calls, where among the hills enfolded stand all the alma mater's halls, where the trees lift high their branches to the whispering southern breeze. There, Ole Miss is calling, calling to our hearts' fond memories.
We are adjourned.